That music means that it's time for another Sunday night edition of Rookies Roundup. Welcome to our 5th show. I'm your host Jake Liker, aka Rookie, and it is currently 9:04 here in LA, and we are back for the second night in a row. That's right, we are going back to back on Rookies Roundup. We had a great show last night, Saturday night, and we're back again Sunday night. So, sit back and enjoy. The other thing, of course, we all enjoy. We are officially less than 2 weeks away from the beginning of NFL football season. The countdown is on. Indeed, the countdown is on. We all have that mental clock going in our head right now. It's so close, we can almost taste it. But we love all sports on Rookies Roundup, so we're going to give every sport the attention it deserves. Also, we're doing something new for Rookies Roundup. If you are listening to this live and don't want to listen to the entire hour of the broadcast for some reason, we've got you guys covered. If I remember to, at the end of the broadcast, I will put down how long into the broadcast each segment starts in the description box so you can fast forward to the point of the segment you want to hear. But I mean, the whole show is great. You really should listen to as much as you can. I promise you I will do everything I can to make it worth your time. So here's tonight's lineup. First, we'll give you some quick hits to provide you the latest news in all the sports, including the NBA, MLB, and the NFL, and even golf and the League World Series. After last night's episode, turns out I realized that I didn't give you guys actual records for last night's teams in the AFC South and NFC South. And I forgot to give you fantasy tips, so I will give you those record predictions and 2 fantasy tips instead of Rookie's Rant. That'll be followed by our last 2 division breakdowns with 2 more guests. We've got the NFC East and the AFC East, but before that, after that, I should say, we will close the show with the MVP Award, the Facepalm Award, and the Sympathy Vote. Of course, everyone's got their own opinions and predictions, so if you want yours to be heard, call into the show at 310-922-9536. If you're not listening to the show live but still have a question or just something to say, write it in the comment section. I will try and answer it by the next show. And speaking of next show, that show is going to be our biggest show yet, because we're talking about playoffs. Playoffs, that's right. Join us next Saturday night at 9, and that time and date, subject to change, for the live playoff prediction special. We'll have more guests than ever on the show breaking down their picks for who's going to win it all instead of division breakdowns. You don't want to miss it. Of course, Rookies Roundup is part of the National Sports family on Spreaker.com. Since we're always busy on national sports, we had 2 more shows today. We had the Man Spray Can Show and another edition of In the Paint with Cameron and Jordan. That was a great show, by the way. I listened to it live. I called in. So, last night's show, Rookies Roundup, again, got a lot of people listening in. Keep it up. Again, thanks for listening. Keep listening. I said it last night, I'll say it again. Tell your friends, tell your family, your neighbors, anyone. Shout it from the rooftops. Share the link on Facebook or Twitter, because the more people listening, the better. So again, thank you to everyone. You know how I feel and how important it is these days to have a voice and to have people know that, you matter and what you have to say matters. So it's always a big deal for me. So again, big thank you to anyone who's listening. And of course, follow everything on National Sports. Like us on Facebook at our page, National Sports. Follow us on Twitter at @NationalSports1. And check out our Instagram page at @National_Sports. And now, let's get to it. It's time for quick hits. As usual, we're going to start off with the NBA. We're talking about Mark Cuban again. In an interview with SportsDayDFW.com, the Mavs owner was asked if this year was a rebuilding year. He responded saying, quote, "Oh no, hell no, don't even go there. Look, there's no template for winning in the NBA. Dirk's got to be healthy and he's working hard. He's been in the gym every single day looking great. Then we've got to come together as a team. We've got Samuel Dallenberg, Monta Ellis, Wayne Ellington, DeJuan Blair. We brought in a lot of really good players, and now it's up to Coach Carlisle to make it all work together," end quote. The problem is with Dirk, he's definitely getting old, and the interviewer thought the same thing. So they asked Cuban, about whether or not Dirk Nowitzki's age is becoming an issue. And he said, quote, Karl Malone won an MVP at 35. That's how old Dirk is. It's not like Dirk plays with athleticism. He plays with skill. He plays with intelligence. He knows the game. And more importantly, he's just there to win. He makes everyone around him better, and you've got to double team him as long as he stays healthy. We were on a 50-win pace when he came back, and we weren't a very good team last year. That was because of Dirk, end quote. He makes a very good point. So my prediction for the Dallas Mavericks, this team is a playoff team. There's going to be some openings in the Western Conference playoffs, considering the Nuggets are not going to be worth anything now. And maybe even the Lakers won't be a part of the festivities in May. But I think the Mavs can take one of those spots. Anything more than one playoff series, though, is the stretch. Moving halfway across the country to the East Coast, the Boston Celtics point guard Rajon Rondo has said repeatedly that he wants to return from ACL surgery. And that's, of course, a tough surgery to deal with. You saw how, so many athletes right now are dealing with ACL stuff. And Rondo wants to be more of an Adrian Peterson and less of a Derrick Rose. But teammate Jared Sullinger had different thoughts on Rondo's timetable. In an interview with WSYX Radio in Columbus, Sullinger said on Friday that he's working out again and hopefully he'll be back by December. We don't know how much Sullinger actually knows, but if this is anything close to true, we could see a lot more trouble ahead for the Celtics. And last, we have some troubling news to report. At around 1 o'clock Pacific time today, TMZ reported that Lamar Odom has been missing for the past 72 hours. Sources familiar with Lamar say that his friends and family are worried that he's hiding out doing crack cocaine. TMZ reported Wednesday that his wife, Khloe Kardashian, threw Odom out of the house after he rejected an intervention. TMZ says that Odom has been battling drug addiction for 2 years now, and even though he went to rehab in San Diego last year, he bailed out after just 3 weeks. There's some hope, however. 2 hours later, at around 3 o'clock Pacific time today, TMZ said that they did speak to one of Lamar's representatives, who said that Lamar is fine but wouldn't say anything about his whereabouts. Now, on to the NFL. Again, we're so close. We can taste it. So, let's start with, surprised I'm saying this, but we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills. Yesterday, the Bills and the Redskins squared off in a preseason battle. Bills quarterback Kevin Kolb left the game after taking a knee to the head, which left Kolb with concussion-like symptoms. And the sad truth is concussions are part of the game. But this injury took a turn that no one expected. According to Tim Graham of the Buffalo News, sources familiar with the situation have said that the Bills are concerned that Kolb's concussion may be career-ending and that Buffalo is proceeding with that in mind. Kolb has suffered an injury-plagued career wherever he went. In the Eagles' 2010 season opener against the Packers, Kolb was sacked by Clay Matthews and sustained a concussion and exited the game for precautionary measures. Michael Vick played well the next week in Kolb's place and was named starter for the rest of the season. In 2011, Kolb was traded to the Cardinals, and midway through the season, Kolb was sidelined for 4 weeks after sustaining turf toe, and backup John Skelton took his place. And just 2 weeks after Kolb returned, he sustained another concussion after being kicked in the head that kept him on the sideline for the final 3 weeks of the season. And then last season, there's still more. Kolb suffered a rib injury in a mid-October game against the Bills. He missed the next 7 games, all of which the Cardinals lost. It's really a shame to see Kolb go down like this, so get well soon to him. The Bills have signed old USC favorite Matt Leinart to take his place. More bad injury news, but not severe for the New York Giants. After starting free safety Stevie Brown picked off a pass from Geno Smith, he was helped off the field due to what appeared to be a left knee injury. He was not putting any weight in his left leg. At first it was determined he had a knee sprain, but now Adam Schefter from ESPN is reporting that Brown has torn his ACL. ESPNNewYork.com reported that Brown has been placed on season-ending IR. Staying in New York, Jets quarterback Mark Sanchez also left last night's Giants-Jets preseason game early due to an injury. Adam Schefter reported that Sanchez has a bruised right shoulder joint and will sit out Thursday's fourth and final preseason game for the Jets against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's your NFL quick hits, but there's still more. We go to MLB. So last night, if you remember, we were talking about how I was going to do a report on the Diamondbacks and Phillies game because at the time they were in the ninth inning when I wrote the script, and I figured it'd be all good. But as we all knew, by the time I was on the show, they were in the 13th, so I couldn't do anything about them. So I figured I owed you guys one, and we're going to be doing a quick hit about their game from yesterday. It's a good thing I didn't try and wait that one out. That game finally ended in the 18th inning. A 7-hour, 6-minute game. The Phillies and the Diamondbacks both combined to leave 41 men on base. What happened though? Top of the 18th, 5 runs came across for the Diamondbacks, thanks to an Eaton double, a Prado single, a Parra single, and a Trevor Cahill single. That was enough. But I gotta say, when you go into those long games and you don't really care who wins, I always prefer to root for the home team. Because if you're a Philadelphia Phillies fan, the few loyal guys stayed there for 18 innings, for 7 hours and 6 minutes just to see them lose. It sucks. It's gotta be tough. So, yeah, again, Phillies fans, maybe they'd get repaid today. They did. Today, after not much sleep for either side, the Phillies defeated the Diamondbacks 9-5 as Roy Halladay earned his first win in his first start since May 5th, giving up just 4 hits and 2 earned runs in 6 innings. The Phillies were off from the start and never looked back, scored 4 runs in the first, 2 in the fourth, 3 in the sixth. It was theirs from the beginning. Final score, Phillies 9, Diamondbacks 5. The Yankees and the Rays. Yanks trying to avoid a 3-game sweep against the Tampa Bay Rays. That's a tight battle for the AL East there. And we also had extras. It wasn't 18 innings, but it was 11. The Yankees avoided the sweep, beat the Rays 3-2 in 11 innings. Robinson Cano went 3-5, had a homer, a double, and 2 RBIs. Ichiro and Alfonso Soriano each had 2 hits and scored runs for New York. That go-ahead run at the top of the 11th, a sac fly from Curtis Granderson that scored Soriano. Final score, Yankees 3, Rays 2 in 11. Staying with the theme of the AL East, the Dodgers and the Red Sox played. And, it's not often when I'm talking about a Dodgers game and they lose. I said that last night. And it's going to happen 2 days in a row. We haven't seen the Dodgers lose a series since June until now. The Red Sox handled the Dodgers easily. Final score 8-1. Mike Napoli went 2 for 4, scored 2 runs, had a home run, and 3 RBIs in the victory. Jake Peavy used to be that San Diego Padre, went to the White Sox. He's been all over the place now, but he was in good form today, giving up just 3 hits, an earned run, and 5 strikeouts to get his 10th win of the season. The only run the Dodgers scored, a solo shot in the 4th from Adrian Gonzalez, but this was all Boston. Red Sox 8, Dodgers 1. So if you look at what's going on in the AL East, those standings are, you've got 4th place are the Yankees, 69-61. 3rd place are the Orioles. Don't forget about them. They're 70-59. 2nd place are the Rays at 74-54. And just a game ahead of them are the Red Sox at 77-55. So everyone's going to be keeping an eye on that one. But of course, we were talking about how Peavy was with the Padres, so let's talk about the San Diego Padres. That's right, we're going to talk about the Padres. 2 franchises who have really always been toward the bottom of the bell for many, many years when it comes to the MLB. The Padres and the Cubs. Final score, Padres 3, Cubs 2 in a 15-inning thriller. That's right, no one scored until the 13th inning. The Cubs actually scored 2 runs in the top of the 13th, but the Padres answered in the bottom half. And then they walked off with a single from Nick Hundley to score Logan Forsythe in the 15th. Padres 3, Cubs 2. Now, Major League Baseball wasn't the only baseball, however, that we saw going on today. That's right, how about the Little League World Series? The team from Tokyo, Japan, representing the international bracket, defeated the team from California, Chula Vista. They represented the American bracket. Japan won 6-4. They won its 9th Little League World Series championship, and it was the 4th year in a row Japan made the title game. California was in its 23rd championship game, and they have won 7 titles. And then, golf. It's not often we talk about golf, but we had an interesting one today in New Jersey. Adam Scott, the guy who won the Masters most recently, won the Barclays Liberty National Golf Course in New Jersey after shooting a 66, 5 under, in the final round to edge out Tiger Woods, Justin Rose, Graham DeLay, and Gary Woodland by 1 stroke, as well as Phil Mickelson, Jim Furyk, and D.A. Points by 2 strokes. Woods, Woodland, and Rose all missed birdie putts on the final hole that would have forced a playoff. Scott said that he was, quote, shocked, really, that was good enough to hold up. And that's going to bring us to our first break. It's going to be short, though. We're only going to give you 20 seconds, because we're running a tight ship here, and you'd rather hear sports than hear music. So, just 15 seconds, and then we're going to talk about what I didn't talk about last night, final records for the AFC South and the NFC South. It's going to be a great night. Stay with us.
Your presentation of national sports is brought to you by Spreaker.com. Broadcast and listen to news, radio, and music with one low monthly rate. Your show will be right back after this word from the local stations.
Told you it'd be really quick. We don't need a word from our local stations. We are our own local station. That's just how we roll here at Rookies Roundup. So welcome back. Before we continue on, just a reminder that if you got anything to say, comment on the show or call in at 310-922-9536. If you're listening, of course, there's that comment bubble on the lower right. Anything you gotta say, write it there. I'll wait for about a second. Just kidding, that was filler to get some water. But of course, yeah, I'm glad to hear any questions, comments. It's always great. Everyone's got a voice. You've got something to say. Now it's just a matter of whether or not you'll say it. Now we start the AFC South. So last night, of course, we broke that down, so we'll be quick as possible, but you guys do deserve to hear my final records for these teams. Now, as I looked at previous predictions, things changed. But I'm going to give you those final predictions next week in the Big Prediction Show. So let's start. AFC South, with the Titans, the Jaguars, the Colts, and the Texans. 4th place, no shocker here, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to go 4-12. And the Jags have a really, really difficult season. Like, this is brutal. I have them going 0-9. They have 8 games before the bye. And, for a while we're going to think that they might be that team to go 0-16. But don't count on it. I'm just bringing up their schedule to give you those first 8 games, just how brutal it is for the Jacksonville Jaguars. With a youngish team, you've got Maurice Jones-Drew coming off an injury. Gabbert still trying to prove himself. It's not going to be easy. Here's how the season starts. Versus Kansas City, in Oakland, in Seattle, versus Indianapolis, at St. Louis, at Denver, versus San Diego, versus San Francisco, a bye, and then at Tennessee. That is crushing. That's not enough to rebound from. But to the delightful surprise of most, they're going 4-12. They're going to find some hope, finish those final 8 games 3-5. Games like at home against Arizona and Tennessee, and games in Cleveland, that's going to make sure that this team doesn't go 0-16. So, correction actually. It's late at night. I'm still in summer mode. I better change that soon. School starts in 2 days. That adds up to 3-13, not 4-12, because last time I checked, 3 plus 0 equals 3. 3rd place in the division, another team looking to try and find that right formula, is the Tennessee Titans. But a surprising 7-9 from them. They always find a way to finish around there, but this division continues to get tougher, and I think 7-9 is a good finish for them. They're going to get a hot start. Including surprise win opener in Pittsburgh, because, I'm really worried about Pittsburgh with Roethlisberger and whatnot, and I think the Titans are going to be, they're going to burst out of the gates. I think big year for Chris Johnson, big year for Kenny Britt. They're moving in the right direction, and they're going to be able to beat some teams that would surprise you, but it's just not going to be nearly enough. 7-9. 3rd place, one day their day will come, maybe. Second place in the division, you got the Indianapolis Colts. And, in the past few weeks, you may have heard me on the big national sports shows a few weeks ago when we were all together at UCLA. And I was really drinking the Colts Kool-Aid, and I've just had some second thoughts about them. 10-6 with those second thoughts. But I thought they'd do even better, and I realized I'm overshooting. Because here's the thing. Last year's comebacks, they were amazing, but I'm not so sure they could do it again this year. You had the exciting rookie quarterback last year. People didn't know what to expect when they were playing Luck. They had that change of coach into Bruce Arians when Pagano was dealing with cancer. Great thing that he survived and back coaching with the Colts. But I don't know if the fire is still going to be there for the Colts. And now people will know what to see, what's coming. With Luck, they're in a position where they can't afford to lose any games they shouldn't if they want to make the playoffs. And I think that's going to happen. And it's going to happen against who else than former coach Bruce Arians, the Arizona Cardinals, in Week 12. They'll finish the season strong, though. Maybe strong enough to get a playoff spot, although they'll have the Chiefs and the Dolphins to deal with. Don't expect them to win a playoff game, though. They still have more developing to do. Which leaves the winners of the AFC South to be the Houston Texans, thanks to an 11-5 season. And I was skeptical at first. But if you look at how stacked the roster is, it's too much to ignore. I don't know what I was thinking. Because if you look at the way their season starts, in their first 12 games, they're winning 10 of those. It's going to be a lot like last year. The Texans are going to start the team off looking like the best team in the NFL. But then towards the end, it's going to be a lot like what we saw last year. They're going to struggle. They're going to finish 2-3 in their final 5 games. And not because they're playing worse than normal, but they have some really tough opponents. You've got at home against New England, you've got at home against Denver, and then you've got on the road in Indy, where they always seem to struggle. Even when, in the days of Peyton Manning dealing with that neck injury, and that was a team that ended up finishing 2-14, and one of those wins was late in the season against the Texans. So Houston always finds a way to lose in Indy. They go 2-3 in their final 5 games, and they're going to set themselves up for yet another first-round exit in the playoffs. I've lost hope in the Houston Texans. They've had so many chances, but I just don't see it. I do not see it this year. Now we're about to start the NFC South. The South, of course, I gotta get a drink for that one. That's what that pause was, because it's a big load to take on. If you look at the offenses there, that's a tough division. 4th place in the NFC South. No surprise here. We talked about it yesterday. Carolina Panthers. They've got the classic case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. They're a team that's still too young in a division, too strong, and they're going to struggle once again, going 4-12. But young stars on the defensive side that also have the 1-2 punch with the toughest last names to pronounce. I'll try it anyway. Star, Lutule, and Luke Kuechly. I don't know. You know you're in trouble when your best defensive player has more ways to pronounce his last name than the number of wins you'll get the whole season. But yeah, Lutule and I'm just going to call him Luke are going to develop, and of course Cam Newton will too. Look for this team to progress over the years, just like the Detroit Lions did. Looked pretty hopeless, but enough bad finishes with a strong offense to give them a push. But an 0-8 finish to the season is going to look discouraging. It's just brutal when you have to play in the NFC South. Although that 0-8 to finish the season might lead to one more high draft pick that can be the final piece to the Panthers puzzle. Final piece to the Panthers puzzle. That's tough to say. Second place, the Atlanta Falcons, by very little. They're going 11-5. Again, talked about a lot about them last night, how it's a big hole to fill at running back. You're losing John Abraham. This team struggles too much when it comes to playing in New Orleans, and the Panthers came pretty close last year to winning a game over them. And I think this is a year Carolina's going to steal that win over Atlanta. The Falcons are going to lose the tiebreaker to the Saints thanks to a 3-3 division record. Which means that the winners of the NFC South will be the New Orleans Saints at 11-5, winning the tiebreaker by sweeping Carolina and going 4-2. 4-2 in the division. A Week 12 loss in Atlanta is going to serve as a wake-up call for the Saints, and they'll win their next 4 at Seattle, versus Carolina, at St. Louis, and at Carolina. But a home loss to close out the season against the Buccaneers is going to kill momentum that they would have had heading to the playoffs, and their defense is going to be too weak to defeat elite teams in the NFC. No playoff wins for the Saints, but a huge step in the right direction. Now, back to the Falcons. Last night I told you I was looking for that stat about running backs, and that's going to serve as the first of 2 fantasy tips tonight. So this is from ESPN magazine. A tip to avoid the old running backs, and by old they mean carries. Guys that, let's take a look. In NFL history, 74 players have gotten to 1,500 carries, but only 33 have made it to 2,000. In recent years, Terrell Davis and Priest Holmes both went from fantasy stalwarts to post-1,500 carry casualties in an instant. And I feared the same thing for Steven Jackson, unless you're in a PPR league, because he could really work well in the slot. But in terms of the actual running game, guys like Steven Jackson, and also if you look at Frank Gore, he's already over that 1,500 carry mark. Those are 2 guys to stay away from. Anyway, yeah, that's your first fancy tip. Number 2 is coming later in the show. Again, pressed for time, you gotta do as much as you want, and you'd rather hear us talk about sports than listen to music, because you could do that on the radio, but you'd rather listen to football. So, when we come back, it's the last 2 divisions, the NFC East and the AFC East, plus our second fantasy tip. We're just going to give you that 23-second commercial. That's right, 23 seconds. 23 seconds. We will be right back.
Sports in a number of ways, through Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter with the label National Sports. We love to have you guys a part of our show and can easily join us also through text or call. You're listening to the National Sports radio station on Spreaker.com.
The person you are trying to reach has a voice.
Welcome back to Rookies Roundup. Right now I'm just going to try and reach the person that's going to help us out with the NFC East. And that's always a really tough division to deal with. Here's the way I see it with the AFC East. Just some filler while we wait for my guy to get on. But the thing with the NFC East is it's that one division now where mediocrity holds sway. There is never a clear-cut winner here. It's the type of division where just 9 wins can be enough. It could be really interesting this year, between teams that are always on the fence, like the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Giants. I think now we got a hold of them. Alright, so there's a friend of mine. His name is Ryan. He's a big San Diego Chargers fan, and will say the most ridiculous things sometimes, but it's enough to tolerate. He wanted to be on the show, so I let him on. Hey Ryan, help me out here. NFC East, I gave you the toughest division, but I know you can come through. If anyone can, it's you, so welcome to the show. How you doing?
Doing well, Jake. So what do you want me to talk about first?
I don't know. Choosing a team in the NFC East to talk about first is almost as tough as picking a team to finish first in that division. I'll let you pick. You're the guest.
I think I'm going to start with a team that's, in my opinion, dead last. It's definitely 100%
Sorry, we broke up a little bit. Who you got finishing dead last?
That's Philadelphia Eagles finishing dead last in the East.
Alright, why the Eagles? What's up with them that makes them the worst in not a strong division?
First of all, for a last place team, their schedule is really, really hard. If you go to Tampa Bay, to Denver, they have to play Washington, Dallas, and New York twice.
Well,
And their home
but the thing is, compared to other divisions, though, I mean, that's a breeze. If the teams you have to play twice are the Giants, the Redskins, and the Cowboys, listen, they got that tough stretch that starts around, where does it start? Week 7, right? Week 7, they have to... We're week 9. They got to play the Cowboys, the Giants, then in Oakland, then in Green Bay, and then against Washington, and they don't get the bye till week 12, but, like, I don't know. I like Chip Kelly there. Do you like Chip Kelly?
Well, personally, I think he's a great offensive mind. Their offense was already pretty good last year. They didn't have a lot of yards, but they're still pretty decent scoring. Their defense, I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to be that good.
Well, yeah, and plus,
Whatsoever.
you know, like, I had the Eagles winning this division. I thought the Eagles had it in the bag. And then, all of a sudden, Macklin gets injured, and then Ben gets injured, and now you're running low on receiving targets with an injury-prone quarterback, and now you're without Kevin Kolb. You don't want to put in Matt Barkley, because we know how USC quarterbacks do. But, I had them make the play. What's your record?
I have them at 5-11, and that's with the win over Winter.
Sorry, again, can you mind just speaking up a little bit? It's a weird connection, but what do you have their win-and-loss record at?
I have them at 5 wins and 11 losses.
5-11. That's harsh. I mean, that's hard. Coming from a Chargers fan. 5-11. Why? Who are the teams that they shouldn't lose to that they will?
I think they'll lose to Kansas City at home.
Oh, they should lose to them, though. I mean, Kansas City's a strong team. I got them losing that, too.
I think they'll lose to Detroit at home. Detroit should be much, much improved.
Reggie, again, that's a pass-first team, though. I don't know if Reggie Bush is the type of guy that can put you over the Eagles. Like, I could see that happening. I think you're right there. That could happen. But in the division, the games that they can win. I mean, look at Tampa Bay.
1-5 in the division last year.
Let me see here, week 8, I believe. So, no, week 6. Week 6, they play in Tampa Bay. Last year, my brother's a big Buccaneers fan. He was at that game. Philadelphia picked them apart and ended up winning on the final play of the game. Philadelphia can win in Tampa Bay. They can win in New York. We've seen them do it before. It's the road games that I feel good with. It's just that tough 5-game stretch.
Well, the thing is, Jake, Tampa Bay is one of those teams you don't know how good they're going to be. They have a lot of secondary depth.
Well, yeah, but that secondary depth is going to go to waste. I mean, the Eagles don't have too many strong wide receivers. I mean, if you ask me. Like, I see them going 7-9. I mean, bringing in Chip Kelly, Michael Vick is, this team's going to develop. I don't know. This team just doesn't look like a 5-11 team. This team is I mean, with Macklin and Ben, this team could be a 9-10 win team. But without them,
I think they're one of those teams, Jake, that play better than their record. Like you said about San Diego.
Oh my God. See, I warned them. I tried to warn you guys that he would say something stupid about San Diego. There are teams that play better than their record, but the Eagles aren't going to be one of them. The Eagles are a 7-9 team, if you ask me. But, we're pressed for time, and we got to move on. So I'll let you pick again. Dallas, Giants, or Redskins? Decisions. Who you want?
So my third place in the NFC East, I'm going to choose New York Giants.
The New York Giants go third place?
Yes.
A lot of disagreement here. Okay. Why?
Well, you got to look at the last 5 weeks of the season. I think they're going to lose at Washington. They're probably going to win in San Diego. They're going to lose to Seattle. They never beat Seattle. Detroit, road game, I'm not really sure about that. Then Washington, I think we'll have something, be playing for something 17.
It's funny because I have the exact opposite thinking as you. Like, I've put this all out in like an Excel spreadsheet, and I got the red for losses and green for wins, and the season starts at the top. And of all the teams I've done, there's not as much. They have the biggest difference, if you ask me, for the first half of the season, second half of the season. To start the season in Dallas, and then against Denver, and then at Carolina, at Kansas City versus Philadelphia, at Chicago versus Minnesota, that's tough. Like, they go 1-6. That's a 1-6 start to the season, if you ask me. And you still haven't had your bye week yet.
Well, Jake, I think if you look at the second half, I think they lose to Green Bay. I know Green Bay usually doesn't win against them. I like what Green Bay's done this offseason.
I so hope that you're right, but I can't agree with that. Because you want to talk about things that always happen in patterns with the Giants. It's that they beat the Packers, and again, it's a Sunday night game. I mean, my only worry for them is that they've lost Stevie Brown for the season, but I mean, the Giants have taught us a lesson. It seems every other year that they become a hot team toward late in the season, and they can make a playoff run. If you ask me, this is a 9-7 team that wins the division. Because when you end in Philly, you get your bye, home against Oakland, home against Green Bay, home against Dallas, road game against Washington, which I think that they can win. The road game against San Diego is actually a trap game, if you ask me.
I just don't see them losing that game. I mean, I love the Chargers, but Eli Manning will take that defense apart. There's no secondary there.
And well, agree to disagree. And then you've got against Seattle. I know you said that they lose to Seattle and that they always lose to Seattle, but here's the thing. If you take a hot Giants team coming off a loss late in the season and a young quarterback coming into MetLife, that's a recipe for success for the Giants. I don't see where they go wrong there.
Well, Jake, I mean, I'm going to have to agree to disagree with you, like you said, but I just think Seattle is the pieces. The Giants' O-line is pretty beat up.
See,
With all those pass rushers and those tall corners, I think Eli Manning can throw at least 2 picks.
it's always a tough team to peg. Everyone in this division is tough to peg. I have them winning this division at 9-7, but that leaves 2 teams left. You've got the Cowboys, you've got the Redskins. Who you want next? Take your pick.
You're going to be happy here. I think Cowboys finished second. I don't have them winning.
Dallas goes second. Alright. Why? Well, why are they finishing second? I mean, if you ask me, that's generous. I mean, Morris Claiborne hasn't developed like he should be. And then if you look at what they have to face after the bye, and here's my big problem with Dallas. I like Tony Romo, and I think that he gets more crap than he deserves. But the way they play late in the season, if you look at who they have to face, after their bye, it's in New York versus Oakland, in Chicago, versus Green Bay, in Washington, and versus Philly. I don't see a win there anywhere. One if they're lucky, but this is a 4-12 team. This team is going to be the biggest disappointment of the year, and the only upside for that is that they'll get a good draft pick, and then Jerry Jones and Tony Romo can say that they'll win the Super Bowl all over again.
Well, you're looking at the second half of their schedule, Jake.
Yeah, second half of the schedule.
You have to look at the first half, too, because I think they beat the Giants, They always win their own game.
Yeah, but I agree. Again, they'll be better in their first half, but there is a tough stretch. Like, look, week 2 through 3, 4, 5, and 6 at Kansas City versus St. Louis, at San Diego versus Denver versus Washington. Again, that's tough. St. Louis and San Diego are gonna be those 2 teams that are gonna give a lot of would-be strong teams losses that they shouldn't have.
Well, Jake, because I'm a Chargers fan, obviously.
Yeah.
Chargers have a 2-game road trip, and when they come back to welcome this Dallas, they're going to be really tired out, and I don't think they win that game. As you say, Wood.
They'll be motivated once they get back. They finally get to play in front of their fans, or however fans actually show up to Qualcomm. But
That's what we like to Dallas, let's say that.
yeah, I don't know, man. I think when it comes to the Cowboys, their expectations are almost as high up as their Jumbotron. They're ready to disappoint. 4-12. It's harsh, but I mean, I don't know. Romo and Clutch don't belong in the same sentence. And then you've got people breathing down Jason Garrett's throat. It's just such a dysfunctional organization.
Well, Jake, think about this. Somehow, some way, they're in the division hunt by the end of the season. Schedule runs finally give them like this. I mean, they get Philadelphia at home week 17. If they're competing with the Redskins or the Giants or whoever it may be,
But what happens every year with Dallas is the problem is that by playing in the NFC East, you're always in the playoff mix. And toward the end, we always see the Cowboys lose. And this time around, well, I guess that just is a result from my prediction, they don't have playoffs to play for. So when they play in Washington or home versus Philadelphia for those final 2 games of the season, they're going to get crushed because down the line, as they get worse, their opponents get better. That's where I feel like they're going to collapse, and that's just a death sentence for Romo.
I just think this is the year, Jake. I know everybody says every year, but Murray's healthy. Leonard Robinson is healthy. Witten's healthy. That's Bryant is healthy. Even though guys like Anthony Spencer, DeMarcus Ware, Sean Lee just signed a big contract. Brandon Carr. I think they have the talent, man. I mean, people have been saying this about the Cowboys for the last few years, but there's actual proof there.
I like their defense, but I mean, it doesn't matter if you're healthy or not. If your team's not good enough to begin with, then it doesn't matter how many guys are healthy, you know? Well, again,
if you're denying it's a talented team, I mean,
they're a talented team, but they're certainly not talented enough to play in the NFL, man. Look, we could talk about this for a long time here, but we gotta move on. We got one more team to deal with, the Washington Redskins. So why are they winning their division?
well, Jake, to start off, I already think they have the best offense in the NFC. And a couple of pieces that they're getting back on defense, they're getting Brian Orakpo, Lyndon Fletcher's been healthy for the offseason, and shady surgeries and stuff like that. Their back four is a little weak. I really like the potential out of those rookies that they have there. Their D-line is just beasting it up. It's crazy.
Normally I'd agree with you, but again, they're dealing with late in the season. They have to play against San Francisco, against the Giants, against Kansas City, in Atlanta, at home against Dallas, and then to close it out at the Giants. That's, again, RG3's not going to be ready for that, especially after ACL. He's going to have more of a Derrick Rose-like comeback than Adrian Peterson comeback. That's my worry about him.
Well, RG3 is looking healthy for me. I've watched a lot, or almost all of the Washington Redskins games, seen him working out in the games before. His knee looks pretty good. And maybe it'll take him 3 or 4 weeks to get back, but their schedule at the beginning is a cakewalk. It's really easy.
Well, we'll see if RG3 is healthy enough in time. Thanks for helping me out with the NFC East. I know I gave you the toughest one to break down. Really appreciate it. Good luck to your Chargers. They're going to need it. Thanks for helping me out, Ryan.
No problem. See you later.
See you. Alright, that was the NFC East, which means we have one division left. We're going to be bringing in Cameron Sadeghi from In the Paint with Cameron and Jordan. But before we go to our last commercial, I got to give you that second fantasy tip. And that second fantasy tip is an interesting one. Again, really glad I got my hands on the ESPN magazine here. Gives you a little interesting edge here. They've given us a stat. Go with running backs that will prey on the Patriot effect. Oh, hold on, we got a caller. Hey, Cameron.
Hey, I'm ready whenever you are.
Alright, yeah, you mind if we just take a 30-second commercial and we can go right into it? Alright. Let's talk to you in 30 seconds. Alright. We're gonna save everything we've got for that last stretch. AFC East. I'm gonna give you that interesting second fantasy tip. And we'll do MVP, facepalm, sympathy, and then we will close out the show with another great night. Stay with us. We are in the home stretch. Don't be like Tony Romo and disappear. We'll be right back.
Hi, This is Sam Rosen, and I'm here with Sam Situation.
Good afternoon and welcome into the corner. It's Chris's Corner here on Spreaker.com, a national sports affiliate.
Hello and welcome to the Cameron Sadeghi Show.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Deep Sports Coffee. This is affiliated with National Sports.
Cameron Sadeghi, Chris Sylvester, Sam Rosen, Andrew Goldstein, Daniel Levy, and the entire broadcast crew with Commissioner Robert Dieters. You are live from National Sports Radio Station in Los Angeles, California.
Alright, it's time, the final division. We've broken down 7, and all we've got left is number 8, the AFC East. And to bring me in back to help me out here, he already helped me out with the AFC North, Cameron Sadeghi. How you doing, Cameron?
I'm great. Don't bag on my Patriots and don't bag on Tony Romo, please.
Listen, I like Tony Romo too, but come on, down the stretch and facing those teams, it's
a team game. It's a team game, but let's go on with the AFC.
Alright, I'll try not to say any crap about your Patriots, but they might give me reasons too. Who you want to start with? Dolphins, Jets, Bills, or Patriots?
I think the Patriots, they're clearly... Well, I think the Dolphins can go 10-6, or 9-7 and get in. But ultimately, the AFC East runs through New England. I remember Bill Belichick in 2009. The Dolphins saying, "Hey, the division runs through us," and he played that video of Tony Serrano saying that. And then now it's been the Patriots division ever since, and it's been since the early 2000s. So the New England Patriots have consistently come out on top, and everybody says it's just Brady Belichick. No, it's the entire coaching staff. It's the entire...
I agree. It's not just Brady Belichick there. I agree with you there.
Yeah, the system is just great, and they have players who are high IQ. They may not be the fastest. They may not be, the most physical guys you can find, but you need guys to be smart in understanding their roles. Do your job. New England Patriots have succeeded in that for the past 10 years, and it won't shock me if they do it again.
I agree. I mean, I still think that this is their division. They go 5-1 at worst in this division. There's no way around that. Maybe a loss in Miami, but even that's a long shot. My worry about the Patriots is that defense. Yeah, it's been kind of upgraded, but I don't know about the discipline that's left on this team after all that's gone on. Yeah, they'll go 11-5. Yeah, they'll win the division. But when it comes to the playoffs, and when you're dealing with... look, Tom Brady's a strong player, but it's the defense that I'm not sure will hold up, and I don't know if Brady's going to have enough weapons.
You don't trust Akeem Talib. You don't trust Adrian Wilson. You don't trust Tommy Kelly. All of those guys I just said are Pro Bowlers. You don't trust those guys. You don't trust Vince Wilfork. He's a Pro Bowler.
I trust Vince Wilfork. I trust Vince Wilfork, and I will give you that. But who I don't trust, you're right, is Akeem Talib. I do not trust Akeem Talib.
What?
Let's go through his
off-season. He got injured again in that Baltimore game. He was shutting down Torrey Smith until he got hurt. He was shutting down the second they got to lead, he made an impact. The game against Houston, shut down Andre Johnson. The games against the Jets, shutting down Santonio Holmes. Akeem Talib is one of the best corners that you can find. He's physical and
I hear what you're saying. That's correct, but the problem is, Aaron Hernandez was a good tight end, but he's can trouble off the field, and look where he is now. He's in jail. Talib, if you look at what Akeem Talib has done off the field, does this guy really? Do you really think he can get it together? He's already been through suspensions for Adderall. He was almost thrown away forever for murdering someone.
There's just a same Patriots. This is the same. This always comes up with the New England Patriots. Whenever there's the slightest bit of a problem, whenever the Patriots, anytime there's trouble, I mean, that's very rare, but anytime there's trouble, there's an injury, it's almost like all hell is broken loose. And nobody can contain it. The world's going to end. They're going to be fine. They're going to go 11-5, 12-4, win the division, maybe get a first-round bye.
I'm not saying all hell's breaking loose, and I agree with you. This is an 11-5 team. I'm just saying, can that defense hold up with an AFC that in its entirety is getting better?
I can guarantee you they will. Now, actually, I'll go out on a limb and say this: the Patriots' defense will be better than the Broncos' defense this year. No one cares about Tommy Kelly except for me and some Patriot fans. But let me tell you, when Tommy Kelly puts that chin strap on, Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl. He's a competitive force of nature, just like Wilford. You'll see when he puts on the chin strap. You trust me.
Listen, all I'm saying is, with so much going on off the field with the Patriots, listen, they're a strong team. They're still an elite team, but they're not what they used to be. I mean, look out for.
Here's the problem. This off the field stuff, there's no better team that can handle it than the New England Patriots.
That's true.
So,
that's true. I'll give you that.
Okay, so then that's the main point I have. Okay, this guy. I mean, I just look Patriots. Actually, you know what? Let me tell you this. You say off the field or issues or scandals and stuff like that. Patriots in 2007, scandal, Spygate. They went 16-0. They went 16-0. You talk about a team that when their backs are against the wall. Let me tell you this: as someone who follows the Patriots, and I don't know, this is kind of weird, but the Patriots do worse when they don't have their backs against the wall. When everybody says they're going to win the Super Bowl, that's putting too much. They feel complacent. But when the pressure is on and nobody believes in them, they come through. Trust me. I know it's weird. People say, "Oh, come on."
It's really a shame that the Patriots don't have more murderers on their team. Listen, Bill Belichick can only do so much. We're agreeing here more than you think. They're okay. I just don't know if this is a Super Bowl winning or AFC winning defense. That's all I'm saying here.
I think they are. I think now they are. If you said that 2 to 3 years ago, you know what? I thought last year was a very freaky type game. I did not expect the Patriots to lose by that much. That was freaky. You talk about injury after injury, the offensive line, the early Welker drop. That was a freaky type game. I've never seen a Patriots game like that before. But this defense will shock you.
All right.
Next year, it will shock you. You know what? It will surprise you so much that they could be a top 10 defense. That's all they need to be. They need to be a top 10 defense.
You say that like it's so easy, though. Like, what do you think is going to make them become a top 10 defense? Now that we've got more guys that might be in jail or former convicts, now all of a sudden we're going to turn around because there's more pressure? Like,
okay, look at this. We got to listen to me on this. They said this about Randy Moss. When the Love Boat scandal in 2004 and all that, Randy, was in the talks, and there's always been controversy about Randy Moss. There's always been controversy about Rodney Harrison. It's always been controversy with those type of guys. And New England deals with controversy. They got the biggest elephant in the room, Tebow, but they don't talk about it around the locker room. So, controversy, Patriots doesn't go hand in hand. It's all business, all football. That's all it is.
I agree. But the guys we've been talking about and what you're saying is, so if you are right, and that off the field stuff and scandals doesn't matter, the thing that you're still missing here is that none of those players were injured. But you know who is injured, and I'm sure you do know this, is Rob Gronkowski.
Here, Rob Gronkowski is going to come back. Okay, you're right.
That's the elephant there. That's the real elephant.
I totally agree with you on that. That is a big issue. A lot of people, I do agree with the Gronkowski. I think that's huge. This is the one thing. I think in the regular season they can survive
I agree.
without Gronkowski and win that division, but I think in playoff time they desperately need him. If he's healthy throughout the playoff run, however far they go, but if he's healthy, you got to give him a chance. I mean, everybody's been saying, Amendola's not that good.
I disagree, by the way. I think Amendola is a lot better than most people think, but
I think Amendola will shock a lot of people.
I
too.
agree. I agree.
And I'm happy that you say that. Other people say that Amendola.
I saw what he did with the
I
Rams.
think that
He's a strong player, and with Tom Brady throwing passes to him, he'll be great. But I think we agree more than we think here. Once again, with the loss of Rob Gronkowski in the playoffs it's too much. It's too much. I don't think they can overcome it. I mean, I'll give you one last thing to say about the Patriots because we are pressed for time, and there are still 3 other teams in the AFC East, even though most people forget it. But one last statement on the Patriots. What do you got to say?
I think it's going to be a good year. I feel like people, they said this about the Patriots in 2001. They said this about the Patriots in 2004. So, and those were Super Bowl championships. People said this about 2007, that they're not going to come through. They shouldn't be the favorites. I think, personally, just what I've seen as a trend, I just think they respond better when their backs are against the wall. And I feel like when they're expected to win, they lose. And it shocks a lot of people. And that's why they say, we're not going to pick them anymore. And then they surprise you.
Yeah.
That's just all I think when it comes to doing it.
I agree. Yeah, I think people are overreacting. The Patriots shouldn't be worried until they are in the playoffs and realize that Gronkowski isn't going to be at full form. But we move on. Who's finishing? So we both agree here. They're winning the division. I have them at 11-5. You have them at 11 wins, 12 wins. Who's second place? I mean, it's obviously the Dolphins, unless you have something else that's shocking.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins really deserve the second spot. I think Ryan Tannehill and his progression, I think people are kind of overestimating on Tannehill. I just think that Tannehill needs to get better in his progressions and all that. But with this team, though, Mike Wallace, everybody, you get a lot of I'm talking about the national media, they say Mike Wallace is maybe a little overrated. I put Mike Wallace up there as one of the best receivers. You look at the Dolphins team, and they've got a really solid defensive team. Even last year was really good. New England kind of struggled against Miami. The last game in Miami, it was a bit of a struggle because the defense of Miami is so great. And, I really believe that Miami has the opportunity to go 10-6 and get the wild card in. Maybe surprise a few people. Maybe they can win a wild card game.
Yeah.
I think they have that potential, and they're dangerous. They really are.
Because what they have in today's football league, where it's so more offensively minded, the Dolphins have something that is a gem if you have it, and that's a strong defense. You've got Cameron Wake enforcing on the front side, and then a wide receiver on the defensive line, and on the offensive side, everyone's talking about Mike Wallace, but just sitting there, and is also a weapon, and is a complete fantasy sleeper if you ask me, you have Anthony Fasano, and you have Brian Hartline. Those are 2 more solid wide receivers. And I think if Tannehill... Not solid, but good enough. Good enough. Yeah.
I think that Brian Hartline's a really good receiver. If you've looked at some of the Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, Dolphins, Bills games, he is very good in those divisional games. If you look at it, when it's 3rd and 5, and you really need that big time, crossing pattern right down the middle, Hartline's going to get that grab in between 2 defenders, and he's going to secure it tight and move the chains. Brian Hartline's a security blanket. Everybody, you get a lot of people saying Hartline is good but not amazing. I think Hartline is critical to their success. I mean, if you don't have Hartline, you can do so much. Do so much stuff in the screen game, in between, and occasionally he can take the top off the defense. So Brian Hartline is really the guy they're going to need to look for, along with Mike Wallace, and he'll complement well with Mike Wallace because Mike Wallace is a deep route guy. Hartline underneath causes a lot of danger.
Yeah. Again, I'm right with you there. There are just two big X factors this year for the Dolphins, what their entire season really hinges on. What is the difference between an 8-9 win season or a 10-11 win season? And it's, one, can Tannehill grow up and make more mature decisions on the field and not, cut down on the mistakes? And two, can that defensive line continue to perform like they did last year? They had 42 sacks last year. That was 7th in the NFL. If those two things work well, this team could make a deep playoff run.
And then last thing, real quick, about the Dolphins, I do agree with you. The Dolphins offense, the one thing that I think they can't beat New England, or you know what, they'll maybe split. I don't think they can beat New England twice.
No, once.
Because they can get into a shootout with New England, and I don't know if they can put up enough points. I don't know if they can put up 35. I don't know how lethal of an offense yet that they have.
Yeah, but in time, Miami could become an elite team. So if you're asking me a very successful year, I'm going to be nice and say 11-5. It's enough to get them the wild card. And it's going to knock the Colts out of the playoffs, actually. I don't think Miami's going too far, though. No more than one playoff win. But now, the Bills or the Jets?
Oh, my God. I think the Jets are last because when you just don't know your quarterback at this point, I mean, you shouldn't even play. I personally think you don't even deserve to win games if you don't know who your starting quarterback is. If you don't know your starting quarterback before even preseason, you're never going to win a Super Bowl. Just think about it. Has there ever been a Super Bowl team that didn't know who their quarterback was by preseason week 2? No, exactly. Well, so the Jets, Dolphins.
I want to throw out a technicality there, but I agree with you. I see what you're saying. I mean, technically, the Patriots didn't know that Brady would be the guy who leads them to the Super Bowl, but I completely agree with what you're saying. This is the last place.
Yeah, that year was...
I know, I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. I had to say it. But yeah, the Jets, their defense is really their only hope, and now without Revis, and you've got just a circus over there. You've got a coach who's... it's too bad... if you saw that preseason game with the Giants, with Geno Smith stepping out of the back of the end zone, it's too bad he doesn't pay as much attention to his feet as Rex Ryan probably does. It's like...
that's cold, but okay. So I know where you're going with that one. Oh my God, you really have to go with that. It's just... I think the Bills, again, I don't trust Cobb, but at least... with the Bills, I feel like Fred Jackson will provide enough offensively so they could win 7 games, 6 or 7 games. I think the Jets could go 2-14 easily.
4-12.
0-16 is a possibility too.
Okay, man. Listen, the Jets are bad, but I don't know. I'll have them go 0-6 in the division. They'll go 4-12, and why? Because their first win of the season is gonna come against a team that always, for some reason, will lose against the worst teams. They are the sole reason that we don't see more 0-16 teams, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that's a good matchup for the Jets, but yeah, 4-12.
Wait, who?
You heard me. I know. Let me just say something. These are the same Pittsburgh Steelers that went down to the wire last year with the Cleveland Browns.
Wait, are you saying Steelers-Jets?
Yeah, Steelers-Jets.
Yeah, I think You know what? The Steelers, and I know we talked about this last time, I personally don't think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs.
I agree.
I said that. People will disagree with me.
They shouldn't, because you're right.
And you're right. Pittsburgh, they don't really play up to their standard. When they face a 500 team, it almost seems like they go through the motions.
Yeah.
And then they wait till the other team implodes. And maybe the Jets will have a lucky day and not implode in the fourth quarter.
I don't think they will. I think that's your Jets win right there. I think the Jets can win games that they can beat Pittsburgh. They can beat Oakland 4-12 at best. They're not winning any games in the division though. I'm sorry. I mean 3-13, last place in the division. It's many rebuilding years, and if you ask me, it starts with the head coach. And with Buffalo, I think this is CJ Spiller. This becomes CJ Spiller's team, and I actually liked the picking EJ Manuel. I watched him play with Florida State, and most people didn't like the pick. I think he's a strong guy. I think he's a good QB. He can produce. What I don't know though is it's not their year. I mean, let's be realistic here. Buffalo is nowhere near good enough to make the playoffs in the AFC, and certainly can't compete with their own division with the AFC East. 6-10.
I think that Buffalo. I said 7-9. I think Buffalo, they can surprise.
Kansas City, that's a game that they could win. That's a game that they could win. Kansas City could overlook them. Kansas City's a strong team, but that's again your ideal matchup for Buffalo. They know how to surprise teams, but with EJ Manuel and then your backup quarterbacks in that line. I agree. Yeah. No, I was just saying I agree with you there.
Yeah, I really like EJ Manuel. I don't know if you saw the little preseason highlight between Colts Bills. Man, EJ Manuel looked like a 15-year veteran in the 2-minute warning. Boom, 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 right down the field. 5-yard strike, 10-yard strike, 20-yard strike. 3-yard dump off. He looked like a veteran there. I was like, is this a rookie quarterback?
Yeah.
Or is this a Pro Bowler that's been in the league for 8 years? I mean, this guy, EJ Manuel. I mean, it's a developmental process. I mean, it's going to take some time, but they're going to be competitive, and that's all you can ask for from the Bills.
Yep, I think 6-10. I think you're right on the nose there. I think we agree with just about everything except for the fact that, except for anything really that has to do with the New England Patriots. But yeah,
no, I agree. With you.
We do agree on most stuff, but except yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't know. And Belichick, I'm gonna say this last thing because I know we gotta go soon, but I gotta say this last thing, and you can respond. I know you're gonna want to. I don't know how long Belichick's magic can keep up with this team. It can only go so far.
Yeah, well, I know you gotta go, so I'll see you later.
Stunned silence about Belichick, I guess. But, yeah. Thanks for coming on. Cameron Sadeghi from In the Pink with Cameron Jordan. See you, Cameron.
Yeah.
Alright. How about this? This is going to be our longest show ever. You heard it here. Patriots make the playoffs at 11-5. Dolphins make the playoffs at 11-5. Bills go 6-10, are moving in the right direction, and the Jets are 3-13. We only have 2 things left to do. We got to give you that second fantasy tip. We're going to give you MVP, facepalm, and sympathy, and we will close out the show. Without further ado, fantasy tip number 2. And it's actually about the New England Patriots. This is an interesting one that you gotta really look at the numbers. And again, glad I got my hands on the ESPN magazine here because they just find these subtleties that can really turn things around for your fantasy team. Here you go. You want to pick guys like CJ Spiller or Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis because the New England Patriots rapid fire offense ran 1,191 plays last season, which is over 30 more than the next closest guy, and they completely exhaust the team that they play. So if you look at last year, Frank Gore and the 49ers, 4 different times faced a team coming off the Patriots, and Gore feasted on those teams for 16 fantasy points per game, and he averaged 5.5 less in his other 12 games. So there are 2 teams that play at least 3 opponents after they play the Patriots, and those would be the Buffalo Bills, so again, another reason to pick C.J. Spiller, and the Cincinnati Bengals, which means BenJarvus Green-Ellis or Gio Bernard. Those could be intriguing picks. The Patriots will tire a defense out. There you go. That is fantasy tip number 2. All that leaves us with is the MVP Facepalm and Sympathy Award. MVP Award goes to the Colorado State student who hit a half-court shot to earn tuition for the year. He was at one of the sporting events. He had 3 chances to make the shot, but he only needed 1. Got it in on the first try. Congrats to him. You are the MVP for getting up there and coming in the clutch. And I'm going to do everything I can right now to avoid saying something about Tony Romo. Facepalm goes to Larry Sanders' tattoo. So Larry Sanders got a new tattoo today, as implied by the headline I just gave you, and it seems that, spelling's important to us here. This is the second time we're going to give a Facepalm award to someone because they don't know how to spell. But Larry Sanders knows how to spell. It was his tattoo artist who does not. You see, Sanders got a tattoo today, and it was just one of those one-word tattoos. It said, receive on his hand. Now, and I can't blame this guy, because I don't know how to spell receive sometimes. It's that whole EI thing. RECIEVE is not how to spell that. And someone probably should have told his tattoo artist that, because now he's got a permanent tattoo on his hand with the misspelled word receive. Receive is spelled RECEIVE. So that's the Facepalm. And our sympathy, and I can't believe I'm saying this, and I kind of owe this after that zinger I gave to him, is Rex Ryan. Even if you're a terrible coach, when you have to pick between 2 guys to play quarterback who clearly cannot play football for their lives, you feel for the guy. It's got to be stressful for him. So yeah, for once, Rex Ryan, you have my sympathy. That'll last for maybe a week. One last thing before we go. Madden 25 comes out in just 2 days. Fingers crossed it's nothing like last year's version because I absolutely hated Madden 13. So, of course, before we go, again, anything you want to say, comment on the show, tell your friends, share the link on Facebook or Twitter. Check out everything on National Sports. Facebook page is National Sports. Twitter at National Sports 1. National Sports is all cap. And Instagram, National_Sports. Next week, Saturday, 9 o'clock Pacific time, it's our big predictions show. Who is going to win the Super Bowl? And a much more big show next week. Thanks for being with us tonight. Yeah, I don't know who else to thank. A lot of people are out there to thank God. It's a good thing I'm probably not going to get an Emmy award or anything, because if my speech is anything like this and I don't know who to thank, I'm in serious trouble. Just like the New York Jets. And with that, we get to end on a positive note. It's always good to zing the New York Jets. Again, keep listening. Really appreciate it. Tell everyone. Have a good week. See you Saturday at 9.